How's it going, everybody? Thad Brown here with you on the Endgame. It is Monday, December the 15th, 10 days until Christmas. We are still decorated Christmas colors here in the studio. Very excited about that. It looks really cool. I've liked it. We're going to keep it for the rest of December for sure. Obviously, a big Bills game yesterday. That comeback over the Patriots will be a big part of this show today for sure. Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel not happy about the officials. We'll discuss that a little bit. Plus, change for the Sabres and a bad day for Syracuse was a good day for me. Whole lot to get to as always on the show today. Thanks for joining me here on Rochester First. We're here every Monday and Thursday, of course. Let's start with the Bills game yesterday. It was an amazing comeback for the Bills. I'm sure you've heard a number of people say that already. The part of this for me that I think becomes the end game discussion of this game, because although the Bills won the game and it was awesome and Josh Allen did a number of great things, when it comes to the standings, not a whole lot changed. The Patriots are still in first place. The Patriots are still very, very likely to win the division. All they have to do is beat the Jets, not even this week, but next week, and then the Dolphins the last week of the year. So they don't even have to beat Baltimore this week. Doesn't matter. They win those last two games, they are still the division champion. The Bills were already not locked in, but in pretty good shape to be a playoff team, and they are still that. And even if they had lost yesterday, they would still be that. So when it comes to the standings, not a whole lot was different after that game yesterday. But you know what's different now? Right now, and you'll notice it in social media, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. And there really isn't much of a debate. There's been a conversation for sure for a while that Josh Allen is close to Patrick Mahomes, that he's pushing Patrick Mahomes. A number of Bills fans would have said for years he's better than Patrick Mahomes. Right now, the way Allen played yesterday, the way he's played this year, and of course, with what has happened with Mahomes this year, Allen is now the best quarterback. And the Mahomes part of this story is any number of things. It is injury. It is offensive line issues, whether injury to there or just a lack of ability. It is not being fortunate in one-score games like he was ridiculously last year. And it was the schedule they played. The schedule is really hard. But this whole situation kind of reminds me of the movie Top Gun. And I'm sure a number of you are fans of that thing. And if you haven't seen it, there's a scene right at the beginning of that movie. This is not Top Gun Maverick, by the way. This is the first one. A scene right at the beginning of that movie where Tom Cruise is on his ship and there's another pilot he's out with, and the other pilot's having trouble landing his plane. They had an encounter with an enemy. Nothing really big happened. They try to sell it as like the most scary thing ever that happened for a pilot. It was really maybe the poorest part of that movie is trying to create drama and danger for that opening scene. But anyway, so Tom Cruise has to kind of help this pilot who's freaked out land his plane. And he's able to do that. And then there's a meeting inside with the commanding officer of the ship. And this is after that other pilot who was freaked out just turns in his wings, quits, and says, I can't do it anymore. So the commanding officer brings in Tom Cruise, Maverick, and his buddy Goose. And he says, I've got to send someone to Top Gun from this ship. He says, you guys were number 2. The other guy, Cougar, was number 1. He says, Cougar lost it, turned in his wings. Now you guys are number 1. That was kind of what happened yesterday. Patrick Mahomes, for whatever reason, just didn't have it this year. Like I said, any number of things were involved in that. Injury, offensive line, just Mahomes not playing well, all those things. His team is eliminated with 3 weeks to go in the season. Mahomes has an ACL tear. It's awful. He probably won't even be healthy for week 1 next year. So it might be a while before Mahomes even plays a game, let alone plays at a level to where you could say that he's playing better than Josh Allen. So Mahomes is out, and now Allen is in. Allen is number 1. Mahomes lost it, turned in his wings. You're number 1 now, Josh Allen. And that's where we are. That, of all the things that came out of that game yesterday, that to me was the most endgamey thing of that Bills-Patriots game. Josh Allen is the best now. And yeah, you can make arguments for, well, Mahomes had a bad year. Look, if you really are fair about it and really are honest about it, about who's playing the best, who is the quarterback you would want right now, even if Mahomes was healthy, would the Chiefs missing the playoffs with 3 weeks to go? Yeah, their schedule is hard. Yeah, they had injury issues up front. Yeah, the offense hasn't run as smoothly because of a number of weird things. I don't care. Allen's playing better. And yeah, the Bills' schedule is easy too. Allen is still playing better. Allen is the number one quarterback right now. And this is where the NFL is at now. The hierarchy has changed. It's hard to do in the regular season. This is not something that you can get away with as a player without winning a playoff game. Most of the time, you have to win a championship to really make that happen. And it's not just about this year either. It's been a couple years building. 2 years ago, Mahomes was not quite as good in 2023. Last year, even maybe a touch worse. And obviously, the Chiefs still went to the Super Bowl both years. So he figured out a way to make it work in the playoffs. And that's why he's been the best. Because even when he's not the best, he still goes to the Super Bowl. And not because in most cases, he's winning games 10-3. He's able to put up enough points to outscore an opposing really good quarterback. So Mahomes has been able to hold on to that title, even if the regular seasons haven't looked great, even while other guys have been winning MVPs. Not anymore. Josh Allen's the reigning MVP. He's in the discussion right now. We'll get to that in a second. But the way Allen has played this year, especially with there's not a whole lot of great offensive weapons around him. Yes, the offensive line is good. Yes, the running back is really good. It doesn't matter. Allen's number one now. Allen's the best quarterback in the NFL. So what does that all mean, right? It's one thing to be the best. It's another thing to make it count. The good news for the Bills is that as long as Allen is standing, when they go to the postseason, they will have the best quarterback in the playoffs. And that's no small thing because the way the NFL is played these days, obviously quarterback is the most important position. If you have an advantage there, that's a great place to start in the playoffs. When it comes to the Bills the last few years, especially the games they've lost in the playoffs, they haven't had that advantage. Not going in, not on paper, not because Josh Allen is a bad quarterback, but when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes in an elimination game, you don't have the better quarterback. You might have an equal quarterback, a similar quarterback. You don't have the better one. And when the Bills played Joe Burrow back in 2022, they didn't have the better quarterback that game either. Burrow was, I think, overall maybe a touch below Josh Allen in general, but certainly in that game, Burrow was the better quarterback. And that's been part of this for Josh Allen too. If you're going to have the better quarterback in the playoffs, you also got to play like it. And for all the different excuses that have been made about why Allen hasn't succeeded in the playoffs, why he's lost games, the one that you hear a lot is that, well, look at all the points his defense has given up. And that's true. But in the last 3 playoff losses to the Chiefs defense gave up 24, 29, and 36 points. And that didn't seem to bother Patrick Mahomes in those games. In part because Patrick Mahomes has never been the second best quarterback in a playoff game. Maybe except for last year's Super Bowl. And the other Super Bowl he lost to Tampa because those games were demolitions of the Chiefs. For Josh Allen, he's never been the best quarterback in a playoff game. Not once. Not actually the games he lost, I should say. All those games that he lost to Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, Allen's been close. I think in 2021 he was equal, but he's never been the better quarterback in a playoff game. And as good as Allen is, just because you have the ability doesn't mean you're going to play that way in a postseason game. And so far in the postseason, in the games the Bills have lost, Josh Allen has never been the better quarterback. Close, equal? Yeah, you can argue that, especially 2021 in the 13 seconds game. He's never been the better quarterback. This year, in the postseason, Josh Allen will be the better quarterback, or at least better be, in every game the Bills play. And it shouldn't matter who the opponent is. I know that obviously Lamar Jackson should be able to, or has a chance still to make the playoffs. Justin Herbert's got a good look to be in the playoffs. Those are really good quarterbacks, especially Lamar, who's got 2 MVPs. Those guys have an argument to be in the same category with Josh Allen. I don't think they're as good, but there's certainly an argument to be really close. But both of those guys this year seem to be nursing large injuries. Justin Herbert's got a broken bone in his non-throwing hand, I believe is what it is. And Lamar Jackson just doesn't look like the same guy he was before he suffered an injury earlier this year. So with Herbert and Lamar playing seemingly very far away from 100%, The Bills are going to have the better quarterback in every single playoff game they play this year. And it better look that way on the field. So you're going to ask every other team the Bills play that you have to have enough on the rest of the roster, offensive line, defense, secondary weapons, pass rush, whatever you want to call it. You got to have enough now to beat the Bills to overcome the fact that you're walking in with a deficit at quarterback. Because Josh Allen is the best there is in the game right now and is the best that anyone will have on the field in every playoff game the Bills play this year. But to make that all count, you got to go to a Super Bowl. There really is you can't be the best quarterback in the NFL, unquestionably at least, not at the Patrick Mahomes level or even close, and get bounced in the divisional round again. The only way that Allen as the best quarterback sticks is by at least going to a Super Bowl and probably winning it. Because if you're going to have as a team an advantage at quarterback, you don't have to have a lot more relatively around him to make that turn into a Super Bowl appearance. So if Josh Allen's the best, and he is right now, you have to, as a Bills team, turn that into a championship. Even an AFC championship would be enough. So this is where the Bills are at. They now have the best quarterback. They have after what we saw yesterday, a team that certainly has the capability of winning a championship. That team that played in the second half against the Patriots is 100% championship caliber. The Bills throw that sign on the wall all the time, championship caliber, playoff caliber. They want teams and players to think like that. Guys, everybody in the building to think like that. They look like that for at least 30-plus minutes against the Patriots. But now that you have the better quarterback, you got to turn that into a championship. And there's no guarantee the Bills will do that. I want to talk real quick here about the MVP discussion because that's come up a little bit too. Right now, if we decided MVP, Matt Stafford would win. And I know that Stafford has a better team around him just in general, more talent on defense. I don't know necessarily better, probably better, but certainly more talent. Obviously, Puka and Devontae Adams are two ridiculous weapons to have. They've got pretty good running backs in Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. So yeah, the Rams have pieces. But keep in mind, the Rams have played in the NFC West this year. They're going to play San Fran twice. They're going to play Seattle twice. They played Philly this year. They played Houston this year. They played Detroit yesterday. Detroit would be like a top 4 team on the Bills' schedule. I don't know if they make the top 8 for the Rams. So yeah, Josh Allen is doing it with lesser personnel than Matt Stafford, but Josh Allen has way less touchdowns, has more interceptions, has less yards. And he's doing it versus a much easier schedule, and his team isn't even in first place in their own division. So you're not going to make an MVP argument for Josh Allen in that situation. Should he get votes? Sure. Second, third place, I can totally see that. But if we decided the MVP right now, not only would Matt Stafford most likely win, but he deserves it. Even if his team is ridiculous around him, he's doing it against a much harder schedule at a much higher level, and his team is in a much better position. Now, there are still 3 weeks left to play. So this thing is not decided yet. And because Matt Stafford's division, the Rams division, is really hard, there still is very much an opportunity for the Rams not to finish first. So if the Rams ended up with a wild card, just like the Bills did, and maybe Stafford throws 2 or 3 interceptions down the stretch so the difference between some of the numbers softens a touch, I could see a better argument for Josh Allen as MVP. But right now, Allen is not the MVP. Not with Matt Stafford out there, not with the season he's had, not with the schedule he's faced. He deserves to be MVP, and at this point would be that. I'm going to call up the Rams schedule. I want to go through the whole thing quick just to really get a taste, because the Bills are going to play probably 5 playoff teams, with 2 of those playoff teams maybe being Carolina and Pittsburgh, and the Bills didn't even see the best version of the Panthers, for what that's worth. The Rams this year played Houston, Philly. They played Indy when Indy was good, so that won't be a playoff team, but that was a much better team than when the Rams had to play them back in week 4. Played the Ravens. Jeez, forgot about the Ravens. Now, the Ravens weren't much good that game. That was even a Lamar game, or no? No, not a Lamar game, so we won't even count that one. Niners, Seahawks, played the Bucks, played the Panthers, so one of the 2 there. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, played the Jaguars, hammered the Jaguars, 35-7. 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're going to play 8 playoff teams, plus the Colts when the Colts were good. 2 teams in the South. So the Rams have a harder schedule. Easily. And have done good against that harder schedule, too. They beat the Texans, even though that was a 14-9 game. They put 26 points on the Eagles' really good defense. Hammered the Jaguars. Beat the Colts, and they were good. The Rams' schedule, when you look at who they've played, it makes it clear that Matt Stafford, at least at this point, through 14 games with 3 games to play, is the better choice for MVP. Doesn't mean Allen can't steal it. Especially, look, if Allen wins the division, if the Patriots stub their toe down the stretch, and that game end of the year against Miami is far from a gimme for this New England team. But if they lose that game, the Bills end up with a division championship again. Really, you want to talk about how perfect that would be for this Bills team to rally at the end and win a division championship? Totally appropriate for the 2025 Bills. So if that happens and Allen looks just as good as he's looked these last couple weeks, maybe one more comeback win against Philly in a 425 game that a lot of people are going to watch, I could see an argument for Allen being higher, more prominent, more likely to win the MVP. But right now, sitting here, December the 15th, Josh Allen is not the MVP and won't be. Or wouldn't be right now, and doesn't deserve to be right now. Matt Stafford has the better case. All that said, though, the thing that matters for Bills fans is not the MVP, especially because Allen just won that. That whole excitement is out the window, right? Bills fans know what that's like. They're done with the idea of winning an MVP. Championship is what the Bills want. And I know that there's been a belief for a long time in Western New York that once Josh Allen ascended to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, that a championship was fait accompli. That once you have the quarterback, there's going to be a championship in Buffalo at some point. And when Josh Allen was 25 with his whole career in front of him, you felt like that was a pretty safe bet. That you're going to get 10 to 12 seasons with a lot of good looks in there, and at some point he's going to cash one in. Well, we're now at age 29. There's still many more good years ahead, but we've burned a bunch of them, or the Bills have. There are a number of chances that have not turned into a Super Bowl appearance, let alone a championship. And the idea that just because the Bills have Josh Allen, they're going to go to a Super Bowl, they're going to win a Super Bowl, they should win one, they deserve to win one, it's not how sports work. I know we all want it to have the nice, soft, happy ending, the gentle fade with the soft camera lens and the tears at the end with the championship trophy being held aloft. That's what everybody dreams about. That's what the movies show you. I get all that. That's why sports are fun. But they don't work that way. Just because you have the quarterback and he's a really good guy and everybody likes him doesn't mean you win a championship. There have been a number of really good quarterbacks who have not won championships. Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, Warren Moon, Fran Tarkenton, all in the Hall of Fame. Some of those guys have been to Super Bowls. None of them won championships. And the reality now is, in this AFC, even with Patrick Mahomes with an ACL injury and not in the playoff field this year and very likely going to start next year behind the 8 ball, you still have Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in terms of the long term. Justin Herbert, maybe Drake May ascends to another level. We'll talk about him a little later on too. Not all those guys are winning championships. There's just too much traffic in the AFC for all of them to find their way to a title. Joe Burrow at least has been to a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson never has. Josh Allen obviously never has. All those quarterbacks play at a level to where their teams have the guy who can lead them to a championship. But at least one of them, maybe more than one, are not going to get there just because it's so dang hard in this conference right now. And getting harder as Houston and Houston and New England and Denver are proving. So the assumption that Josh Allen will win a championship or should win a championship, or that this is how it should be, that this is what the sport is built for a guy like Josh Allen to win a championship, it doesn't work that way. It'll only work that way if the Bills go and win the 3 games in January. And it's going to take more than the quarterback to do it. You saw this year, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. Couldn't even get to a winning record. They were 6-8. Yeah, maybe Mahomes saves that game yesterday against the Chargers. They get the 7-7. Just because you have the quarterback doesn't mean you're going to be a champion. Mahomes did it because in the playoffs, he was better than everybody else in most situations. And Andy Reid was better than a lot of people. And their defense made a number of plays. And Chris Jones made a number of plays. And back in the day, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. You need the support portion of your roster to get that quarterback to a championship. I needed the quarterback to play well too. Again, Josh Allen in the playoffs has never been the better quarterback in the games he's lost. And I don't want to hear about, well, the Bills defense gave up a number of points. Yeah, that's a problem. But if you're the guy, then you got to win the game. There's no excuses. There's no, the coach didn't help us. There's no, the defense didn't do this. There's no, the refs didn't do that. If you're the guy, you got to win the game. And if you win the game, then you get to have the championship. That's the only way. There's no deserving. There should be something breaking their way. If Josh Allen's going to be the number one quarterback in the NFL, he's got to win some playoff games, some important playoff games. And normally it would have to be against good quarterbacks. Not this year. This year, the toughest quarterback he will face would be injured Justin Herbert, not at 100% Lamar Jackson, not yet figured it out Drake May, Bo Nix, who comes and goes and gets carried by a good defense, CJ Stroud with not much help at all in his offense. The Bills are going to have an opportunity. But they've had other opportunities. They had an opportunity in 2021 when we all thought that Brian Daboll was going to walk away the next year and did. When the Bills had experienced coordinators back in 2021, a coaching staff that had been around forever. They got to that game in Kansas City and couldn't figure out how to get a win. They've had a couple other chances against the Chiefs, couldn't figure out how to get a win. Josh Allen played really good in those games. He didn't play good enough to win, bottom line. He played at a level where you can win, but he was not the better quarterback and didn't make enough plays to win the game. And if the Bills maybe get more help, then maybe Josh Allen doesn't have to play as well. I'm not going to get into all that. Josh Allen is the number one quarterback in the NFL. But for that to matter, you got to win the games in January. And Josh Allen playing better than he has played in previous games may have to be a part of that equation. You can't just depend on coaching and defense to save him. There are some situations where it may happen, but just look at the reality of where the Bills are this year. I think Sean McDermott's done a really good job in general with his defense and this team. So I think the coaching, I know people don't want to hear it. I think the coaching is at a level where they can win. The defense, especially because of the injuries they've had, is a big question mark. The Bills get Ed Oliver back at 100%. That'll help out a lot. But especially when it comes to the run game, this is a defense that has a lot of questions still. So look, the Bills have the quarterback now. They have the number one quarterback in the league. They have the guy that's going to be better in every single game. But that doesn't mean they're going to walk to a Super Bowl. It doesn't mean they deserve to. It just means that they have an advantage at a very important position. And you got to capitalize on that now. And that includes the quarterback himself living up to that advantage. Because again, when the Bills have lost playoff games, Josh Allen's never been the better quarterback. He's never been a guy who's gaining an advantage at his position, in large part because the guys he's played against are equally as ridiculous as he is. This year, that shouldn't be an issue. This year, Josh Allen better be the better quarterback in every playoff game. All right, one other thing that came out of that Bills game yesterday, which I thought was a positive. I don't think people really thought about it, but the more you really kind of think about this, the more you understand that, wow, that actually was pretty cool. So if the Bills had lost to the Patriots, obviously the Patriots would have won the division, which means the Bills no longer would have had a chance to play for a division title. So if the Bills were in the playoffs at the end of the year with nothing to gain week 18 but seeding, it puts Buffalo in a little bit of a tough spot here, because what do they do for what would potentially be the last home game ever at Old Highmark Stadium? If all you're playing for is maybe to be the 6 or the 5 seed, or even if the Bills are absolutely locked into a wild card seed, do you put Josh Allen on the field for that game? Do you play all your offensive linemen? Do you play Joey Bosa or Matt Milano? defensive players who've struggled with injuries throughout their career? Do you risk Christian Benford if his toe injury continues to be an issue? I think general wisdom would say no. You don't want to put those guys out there. Don't put them on the field. Don't take a chance that someone gets hurt. But that's the last home game ever, likely, at Old Highmark Stadium. You don't want to lose that game, especially you don't want to lose that game to what's likely going to be a 3-13 Jets team because you're playing your backups. It would have put the Bills in a weird spot. How much do you try and win that game? Now, look, the Jets are bad enough that you might need a quarter and a half of Josh Allen to make sure you're beating the Jets. You might be able to do it with Mitch Trubisky anyway. But to sit down all your main players and to risk that last game being a loss, not that it would matter that much. It'd be an unfortunate memory that the last game ever was a loss to a bad team, even if the circumstances were unusual. The Bills want to win that game, so you want to be able to play. But now, with the Bills winning that game against New England, yes, the Bills do not control the division. The Patriots could still win the division by beating the Jets and the Dolphins the last 2 games of the year. But what the Bills can control is that if they beat the Browns and the Eagles the next 2 weeks, or let's say New England loses to Baltimore this week, in that case, Buffalo would only have to win 1 of the next 2. Either way, the Bills can lock in on their own that Week 18 will matter. That at the very least, the Bills will get to Week 18 with a situation where they can win the division with a win and a Patriots loss. And then you don't have to have the question about, well, do we put all the starters out there in that last game of the year? Absolutely you do. Even if the likelihood that it'll matter is pretty low, you're still going to play Josh Allen and everybody, and you're still going to make sure that you make 100% effort to win that last game because it matters. And now, even if the Bills don't win the division, even if the Patriots handle their own business, the likely scenario is Old Highmark Stadium will conclude with not only a win, but an emphatic, let's celebrate the team and our history kind of win. This won't be a game where you're biting your nails in the fourth quarter, wondering if the Bills can pull it out. This will be a game where the Bills are likely up by 17 points at the half, up by 30 going to the fourth quarter, and everybody's celebrating, having a good time, maybe a couple tears, last game at the stadium, watching the scoreboard for sure. It'll be a fun day, without question. And that's what the win over the Patriots earned the Bills. It may not have helped materially in the standings. It may not have moved them up. But at the very least, assuming the Bills handle business, and that Philly game won't be easy, but assuming the Bills handle their business, they will go to Week 18. There's a good chance, at least, they will go to Week 18 and be able to play starters without question, without worry that you might be unnecessarily risking Josh Allen in a game that doesn't matter because you want to win your last home game. Now the Bills will just say, hey, let's go out there and beat the heck out of the Jets. And even if we don't win the division, we'll celebrate the end at Old Highmark Stadium. So I think that was a positive, tangibly, coming out of that Patriots game beyond just, hey, we look good and that was a cool comeback and all that stuff. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we have a lot more to get to from this Bills game. Ray Davis, kickoff return champion. Who knew? We'll talk about that. And Mike Vrabel, he doesn't like the refs. I don't know if it's a game he's playing or if he's just kind of a whiny guy, but he made some comments that we'll hit on after a break. My name is Thad Brown. You're watching the Endgame. This is Rochester First, but the kids, all the cool ones, they call it Rock One. We're back after a break. Thanks for hanging with us here on the Endgame again on a Monday, December 15th, 10 days until Christmas, by the way. Hope you guys got all the shopping stuff figured out. I did a lot of shopping over the weekend. Very excited. I feel like I'm further ahead of my shopping than I've been in a long time. I don't know if that's accurate, but it feels like I got some stuff done, which is sometimes all that matters. Once again, I want to remind you that every Monday through Thursday, we have BKL Netley right here on Rochester First. We will give you the full rundown of everything that goes on with the Bills every single day. Today, it'll be Sean McDermott and the coordinators talking to the media. So that's, of course, right here on Rochester First, Monday through Thursday, every single week at 8:30 p.m. Ray Davis was a big part of that Bills win yesterday. 3 kickoff returns of 35 yards or more. He's the third Bills player to do that in a game since 1991. I know it's like a deep cut stat, but it's the easiest way to kind of define how impressive that game was yesterday. Ray Davis, by the way, is also now the number one kick return guy in the NFL. Through 25 returns, he's got the best average in the league. Obviously, the touchdown helps, but this is not something that's been isolated. It's not just one or two good games or one long return. He's been good for this kickoff return unit. And there was a theory that with the new dynamic kickoff return rules, that a running back would be a better return man in this situation. You don't just need someone who's fast and good in space because the cover team and the kick return teams line up really close to each other, 5 yards apart. It's closer to a line of scrimmage play than it is your old school open space kickoff return type thing where you've got guys at different levels setting up a block. So the thought is, if it's going to look like a line of scrimmage play, instead of having a receiver who doesn't ever hit holes or know how to set up linebackers, have a running back be your kick return guy. And perhaps that's a part of why this is working out so well for Ray Davis and the Bills. I do think that the Bills special teams and Chris Tabor deserve some credit here as well, because clearly holes are being opened. And a couple of these returns, it seemed like Ray Davis is just going straight ahead and finding space. But regardless, whatever it is, it's working. And for this Bills team, look, offense is not necessarily their problem. They're probably weaker on the defensive side of the ball. But we've seen this offense have issues from time to time, that if you can take away the run game and not be terrible defending tight ends like the Patriots and Bengals have been all year and were the last couple of weeks against the Bills, that you can slow this Bills offense down. Well, now that you have another opportunity with Ray Davis to really move the offense, you had 3 possessions for the Bills yesterday where the ball started past midfield. I mean, with Josh Allen, that's cheating. You give Josh Allen a 40-yard field, most of the time that's going to end up in your end zone. So the ascendance of Davis to legit kick return weapon is no small thing for a Bills team that's been searching for any answer at kick return for years, whether it's Andre Roberts or Brandon Codrington or Isaiah McKenzie at times. To have a guy who's legitimately the best, and right now he's the best by like 3 yards. He's averaging 32.4 yards a kick. The next guy is in the 29s. So Ray Davis is clearly the best return man in the league. And this isn't about him only doing it for half a season. There are a lot of teams that don't really use the same return man all the time. So Ray Davis has 23 kick returns. That's pretty commensurate with what other kick return guys are doing this year. So this isn't about a small sample size. Ray Davis has been doing it long enough and doing it at a high enough level that it's making it a difference for this Bills team. And again, that's not going to be something to overlook going down the stretch here. That when you have someone who's a threat at that spot, it's just the thing with this offense. And this has been apparent, I think, since the first game of the year, is the Bills are trying to do everything they can to give Josh Allen release valves, to give him easy buttons, to allow him to not have to feel like he's dragging this team to points play after play, drive after drive. The number one way they do it is with the run game. The offensive line and James Cook are so good. There have been a number of games this year, Allen can just go handoff left, handoff right, and the Bills win the game without much of a problem. Number 2 lately has been the tight ends. Give Dawson Knox credit for having a couple of big games. 2 touchdowns this week, 6 for 93 the week before. Dalton Kincaid, Jackson Hawes both scored against the Bengals. So tight ends, at least lately, have been another part of that release valve system for the Bills. Well, now Ray Davis is one too. The more release valves you give Josh Allen, the better a quarterback he's going to be. Because when he doesn't have to force everything, when he doesn't have to drag, to be the superhero all the time, when he can kind of play a little more free and easy, that's when he's at his most dangerous. Because then he can pick and choose the spots where he's doing the ridiculous stuff, as opposed to trying to do it all the time. You saw against the Texans, against the Falcons, when the Bills ask Josh Allen to be Superman all the time, he'll do it, but he'll be forced into a spot where he's making decisions that maybe he shouldn't make, taking chances he shouldn't take. And that's when the Bills offense can get bogged down a little bit, because as good as he is, he needs a little help. And the Bills have gotten it from the run game, from the tight ends lately, and then Ray Davis can be another big part of that. And it's good for Ray Davis, too, because this is a guy that deserves touches. The way James Cook has played this year, separate to the fumbling issue, the way James Cook has played this year, you don't want to take him off the field. He's been so good, so smart, good vision, strong, tough, quick, elusive. He's in the top 10 with a number of tackles broken this year. And as long as James Cook is not putting the ball on the ground with fumbles, you want to play him all the time. But Ray Davis is pretty good too. We've seen him in the Steelers game. We've seen him have moments, the Jets game last year when Cook was hurt. We know Ray Davis can be at the very least, I don't know if he's good because he hasn't gotten that many opportunities, but Ray Davis can be a functional running back in the NFL. Well, if you can't give him carries because the guy who's your running back right now is that good, you don't want to take him off the field, at least you can give him touches in the kick return game and make use of that talent. So it's a heck of a development for the Bills and something that I'm sure they and Ray Davis are pretty happy about. You know who wasn't happy today? Mike Vrabel. He was on a local show in the Boston area talking about the game. This is a show he does all the time because I've seen clips from him pop up on Mondays on a regular basis. And he did not like the officiating yesterday against the Bills. The primary complaint for him was about the holding. He said that the Bills are the number one team in the NFL for offensive holding, which is an accurate statement. And then he said they didn't have one called on them yesterday. The Bills didn't, which isn't accurate because O'Cyrus Torrence in the fourth quarter had a holding penalty, which negated a touchdown, which made it 3rd and 14. And then Josh Allen, which what I thought was his best moment of the game, whizzed a 14-yard 3rd and goal throw to Dawson Knox to score a touchdown for the Bills anyway. So the Bills did have a holding penalty. Here's why that's terrible, what Vrabel said on a factual basis. So he said that the Bills did not have a holding call on them yesterday, and they're number one in the NFL in holding, okay? So we already talked about how not having a holding call was incorrect. Yes, the Bills have the most offensive holding calls in the NFL. And you see this all the time when there are complaints about officiating, especially in the playoffs. People would talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs have the most holds or the least this or whatever. Here's the thing. The most penalties in the NFL by any team, individual penalties, if you're talking about just holding or just pass interference or whatever, it's like 1 or 2 a game. The Bills lead the NFL in offensive holding calls right now with 28. That's 2 per game. 2 per game makes you the worst team in the NFL. And on top of that, of those 28 offensive holding calls, only 11 are by the offensive line. And I bring that up because when Vrabel complained about the holding yesterday, immediately the sycophants around him said, oh, yeah, there were a couple of times the left tackle did this and didn't get called. There's the reference to the Deion Dawkins play where he ends up spread eagle on top of a player on the ground, which is not a holding. There's only been 11 holdings all year of those 28 that are by the Bills' offensive linemen. So that means that the worst offensive holding team in the NFL right now commits less than 1 a game by the offensive line. And the Bills had 1 penalty called against them, against the Patriots. So it seems to me like the referees did their job in New England versus Buffalo, that exactly the right amount of holding penalties, at least on the offensive line, were called. Now, the reason why the Bills have 28 holding penalties and only 11 by the offensive line is because they have a large number of special teams holding penalties, which are technically offensive holds. And there's also a few in there, Dalton Kincaid downfield, Josh Palmer downfield, receiver blocks that get called holding penalties. So even if the Bills have the most in the league, the refs called that game appropriately. And this goes for everything else too. I really thought that was a pretty well officiated game. The pass interference call on Keon Coleman, yeah, it was ticky-tack. There wasn't really a whole lot of grabbing or restricting, but that hand behind a jersey where if you're a defensive back and you get a fistful of jersey and pull, that kind of thing gets called all the time because it looks a lot, and often is, a restriction. So that's why that gets called. There was a defensive hold on a 3rd and 5 near the goal line. That was a pretty obvious pull. Again, another one where it wasn't a whole lot of restriction, but the pull was done in clear sight of an official. You're going to get called on that every single time. Vrabel also complained about the pass interference call on Khalil Shakir. Now, Vrabel might have a point about whether or not that was a catch. I thought you could really make an argument that Marcus Jones took the ball away before it became simultaneous. It didn't matter, though, because the pass interference call was accurate. It wasn't the worst in the world. And like Vrabel, and I think like many of us, we hate I'm going to throw a deep ball, let the receiver kind of pull up short, and when the defensive back runs into the receiver, it's pass interference. Nobody really likes that call. I'd like to see the Bills or the NFL legislate that call out of the league. But until that happens, that's a pass interference call all day long. So that there were don't let Patriots fans try and sell you on the refs gave Buffalo that game. The refs were fine in that game. And that also goes, by the way, for the first quarter when the Bills were on the short end of a couple of potential replay assist calls. Yes, Keyshawn Boutte did not catch that ball down the sideline. It was a little bit of bad luck, though, that the first replay you saw had a player or a coach on the sideline blocking the moment that you'd be able to see the ball get juggled. And then the Patriots did the smart thing and snapped it quick. No one did anything wrong there. It was just unfortunate that the first replay that came up, the one that the league and or the Bills had a chance to look at in the couple of seconds they had to review it, was blocked. Bad luck. Those things happen. And then the Brandon Cooks one, that had a clear view and absolutely should have been overturned the way it was. So replay assist worked as best as it could in that situation. But bottom line, now it's been suggested that Mike Vrabel is working the refs a little bit. Someone pointed that out to me on Twitter. I think yards per pass is another X feed that is, very much involved in the Bills and does a lot of good deep dive video stuff. And sure, I might buy that Mike Vrabel is saying things like this because he might look bad. People will say, "Oh, what a jerk, what a whiner. You can't own up to the fact that the Bills beat you." A coach probably doesn't care about that stuff if he feels like he can get a call down the road. But I don't know if this is the method that is most efficient for swaying refs down the road. Number one, like I said, you're complaining about something that's easily refutable with 5 seconds of research. Number two, we're assuming the refs even pay attention to this. Who knows if they do? Number three, they'd have to remember. I think really to make something like this effective, you'd have to complain about it over and over and over so that at some point you're assured that whatever ref deals with your game down the road would understand that you made a complaint. Remember, this is not about absolutely persuading a ref from a conscious point of view. This is about if you're a coach, you can drop something in the subconscious, maybe you get a call down the road. But again, why not just talk to the guy before the game? Coaches are there, refs are there. Happens all the time. Hey, I think this team holds a lot. Keep an eye out for that. You could just do that without making yourself look bad on public broadcasting, things that are going to end up on social media. So, yeah, maybe Vrabel doesn't care and he's going to work the refs however he wants. But his complaints in this game were not accurate, were off base, looked whiny, and are easily refutable. One of the other things that he said was, we have to know the rules. We have to know our things are called. It doesn't look like he really knows the rules complaining about these things. Now, maybe, again, he's trying to work something down the road, but there was very little about what he said in this game that made it seem like he knew the rules. All right, it's time for our weekly segment with Rachel Liebert. Let's bring her in here so you can fix your camera. There you go, Rach. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is how it always goes. We don't have the cameras set up because Rachel pops in the middle of the show. And then we kind of go from there. So
there we go.
There we go. All right, you're in. It is time for our weekly segment. You see this? Something weird and wild and crazy that happened over the weekend in sports that isn't necessarily a big topic of discussion here. Rachel, you have the floor. You can go first.
Okay, well, obviously this weekend was the Heisman voting, Heisman winner, and Thad, are you caught up on this? Did you see this on social media?
I know who won, and I know there was a thing with this guy, but I don't know.
There's a few things.
I kind of left it open. I wanted you to lay it out
so
I could react live.
Okay, so obviously Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback, is the one who won the Heisman. And Diego Pavia is a Vanderbilt quarterback. He came in second place with his votes. Some backstory with him. So Vanderbilt put together their first ever 10-win season. So he's having a great year, but he is very unlikable is the word. He's very very arrogant, but anyway, whatever. So he, throughout the entire season, whenever he scores, he hits the Heisman pose. His mom has gone viral several times for hitting the Heisman pose. I don't know if you've seen this, but just goes crazy in the stands, and they've been doing this all year. At the ceremony, he obviously lost. Afterwards, he took to social media and posted on his Instagram story. It was him with his teammates, and it says, F all the voters, with a thumbs down emoji, first off. So that's the first one. And then he goes out after clubbing, and the clubbing signs, they put in different words, and
I'm old. You're gonna have to help me out with that.
Okay, you go to a club, I guess, and the bottle girls will walk around with the signs of if it's someone's birthday, it'll be happy birthday, just different things like that.
Vaguely. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so he gets one of those, and it says F Indiana, because Mendoza is the one who won.
Right, yeah.
Then he obviously, once he gets backlash from everybody, because he's just, even during the Heisman ceremony and all the press and all that stuff, the way he was answering questions, everyone was get a load of this guy. This is really bad. He was asked several times, who would you pick, this Heisman winner over this Heisman winner, doing a bracket, like a TikTok trend situation. And he was me, I'm the best one. Obviously he didn't win the Heisman. He's over Lamar Jackson, saying all these crazy things. Takes social media, puts out this big apology.
So he put himself over Lamar Jackson is what I think he said?
Okay. It was a bracket, he wasn't even in the bracket. It was Johnny Manziel or Lamar Jackson. You got to pick one. And
past Heisman Trophy winners.
Yeah, and he goes, me.
Wow.
Me. And it's just
super friendly.
Adding on top of all this stuff. Then he loses, and he goes and posts all of this stuff on social media. Everybody's freaking out, saying this is just going to tank his draft stock, and this is just a really bad look for him. But it's just crazy. I've never seen someone act like that in the Heisman. Normally they're very, obviously, very uplifting to everybody, but F Indiana was his message after.
Some kids too, even 21-year-olds who play football, 19, 21-year-olds are still shy around media to where they won't want to take a chance for anything like that. I almost want to give him a little bit of credit for not caring and being himself. Credit is the wrong word, but
you can be yourself and be respectful.
Yes.
He's blatantly just being everybody who had any part in this, was wrong. And who do you think, if you had to pick who is his idol? He said his idol is Heisman.
I would say it'd be him.
Probably. But who would you say is his idol? Of past Heisman voters. If you just take a guess.
Manziel.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of, and everyone's saying this would be Johnny Manziel now if Johnny Manziel was.
It's not like Johnny Manziel came out that long ago. It's not like this is a guy from the 80s.
Yeah, but I'm saying if he was in the era of the social media, the TikTok, all the stuff now, if that was Johnny Manziel, he'd be the same way, how this guy is. Because he's just a social media, just does everything on there. But yeah, it's crazy stuff.
The mom getting involved and striking the Heisman pose.
You have to look it up. People were roasting her online.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Well, clearly the apple is not falling very far from the tree there.
That's what I'm saying. He gets it honestly.
The question I have is, how do you command a huddle that way? If you're that unlikable, how does anybody want to play for you?
And the other thing too, this is a funny part of it too. He is in several pictures. He's obviously standing next to everybody, and Jeremiah Love is over there. Everybody is tall, and he's listed as 6 foot. Yeah. This Pavia kid.
I was going to say.
He looks 5'9", 5'10". It's bad. Jeremiah Love, the running back for Notre Dame, he's listed as 6 foot, and he's the tallest guy there. They are not the same. So somebody's lying, and everybody's also getting on him for this about okay, there's no way this kid is 6 foot tall. But it's just, it's a lot.
I was going to say that looking at the pictures, there was the thought that some small man syndrome was part of this.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it a little bit.
Wow. I had no idea. I should pay attention to stuff more often.
It's fun. You got to go down the rabbit hole. Just look up Diego Pavia on Twitter, and you'll just keep you entertained for a few.
Okay. I'm going to have to do that. All right. My thing, this is why I wasn't paying attention so much this weekend. Hofstra, baby. The alma mater knocked off Syracuse. I was talking some trash last week, not hard trash, because I really thought this was not going to happen. Hofstra's a good team, but they should not be beating ACC teams. And there they were, knocking off Syracuse 70-69 on Saturday. Yes. Now, Syracuse fan, Kean Anthony was 100% fouled. I get it. If you didn't see it, did you see this game? Or you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So, end of the game, Hofstra's up by 1, 5 seconds to go. Kean Anthony, the son of Carmelo Anthony, takes the ball down the baseline. And it's funny. So I watched it after it happened. Mm-hmm. And I watched it like 5 times. I'm like, what is everybody complaining about? Yeah. This is clean. But what you don't realize is that Anthony's kind of driving in from the right side, and there's a defender to his left that there's some contact made. Mm-hmm. And it might look the first time like it was a foul, but when you see the replay, you're like, nothing happened there. That's clean. But then you realize that the backside defender, the trailing defender, gets an arm in and just grabs. And that's, that's 100. And I can understand the refs missing it, not to excuse them, because the refs are not me. They should be looking at everything. But when I watch it 5 times, and I'm almost ready to type some stuff up about how, why is everybody complaining? This is definitely not a foul. I can understand why it was missed. So all that said, Hofstra won. I just want to get that out. Has nothing to do with anything else. Hofstra, by the way, they also beat Pitt last week. I don't know if anybody saw that. Yeah. So they won 2 games against ACC teams. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to the tournament, because they've also lost to Iona already this year. Yeah. But regardless, it's good. I will tell you, from the Hofstra fan in me, easily one of the best weeks in college basketball for their program. Easily.
Oh, for sure. I'm like, what do you think this means about Syracuse? What are your thoughts on Syracuse?
So we were going to get to that. I want to give you a minute to talk about that. So I actually am still fairly optimistic about the Syracuse team relative to expectations. This is still a team that hung with Kansas, hung with Houston.
They're both off Tennessee, right?
Knocked off Tennessee. Yeah. They're both Kansas and Houston are ranked in the top 20. I didn't check Tennessee.
Tennessee was ranked when they beat them. I don't know about now.
Right. Either way, the 2 teams they hung with are still ranked. I'll get it right here. Tennessee is number 20. So they've had 3 games now with top 20 opponents where they have very much looked like they belong. Yes, you lost to a Hofstra team who's probably going to be pretty good in their own conference. The CAA is solid. It's not, there are worse mid-major teams to lose to. So the big picture, I still feel pretty good about Syracuse. The big stat that you point to out of this Hofstra game, Hofstra shot better from 3-point range than Syracuse did from the free throw line.
Oh, that's bad.
Yes.
Yeah, Syracuse has been struggling. I mean, we've talked about
this. Yes, and this is where I'm going with this. Yeah. Now, Hofstra was 12 of 18 from 3. They made 67% of your threes. I don't care what 2 teams it is on the floor. You could close my eyes if you told me one team was 67% from 3. I'm picking that team to win. I don't care who it is. Yeah. But the fact that Syracuse continually doesn't make their free throws will be a problem.
It's because they keep fouling that big man, the one we were talking about.
Yeah, I know.
And he's struggling. He's like Michael.
But it's not just them though. I mean, J.D. Starling misses free throws too. You know, they don't have. I don't think anybody who's dependable right now. I'd have to review where their numbers are at. But the whole team is bad. It is hurt your season bad. It's not that's kind of annoying. You know, let's hope that they can play around it bad. It is cause you problems in games bad. So that is the concern. But the rest of this team, look, Starling can get you a bucket when you need to. They play good defense in general down the stretch. They have in a couple of spots. You know, the Houston game especially, I liked what they did in a lot of big-time possessions. So the fact that you can get buckets and you can prevent buckets when it matters makes me optimistic, even if this one is kind of a head-scratcher for a number of reasons.
I'm not worried about Syracuse. I mean, like you said, they've
played. Well, now worried feels strong, but go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I feel like you have to, that we've been worried about them for the past several years.
Yes.
Like they have not been the team that everybody knows Syracuse to be. And I don't know if this will be the year they turn things around. Maybe this will wake them up a little bit, but I mean, it happens. It's basketball. It's a long season.
It's a bad look, but it isn't the end of the world for a Syracuse team that has looked competitive a number of other times already this year. All right. Before we go, I just want to, Jarmo Kekalainen is the new GM of the Sabres, by the way. So I just want to point out that, yes, he was a GM for the Columbus Blue Jackets for 11 years. He went to 5 playoffs, won 1 series. That's better than the Sabres. It's not a very high bar to clear to get me excited.
No.
If we're talking about 5 out of 11 and one playoff series win in 11 seasons.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's not look, it's better than Kevin Adams.
I was going to say, I think you got to get Kevin Adams out of there.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's better, but.
Yes. 100% right move. Undoubtedly, to be honest, it took so long for them to get there. Yeah. It probably should have happened earlier. But Sabres are moving forward. Even if I don't particularly like the new choice, at least this direction.
Is a new choice.
Yes, there is a new choice. Right. So congrats to Sabres fans and Buffalo fans. Bills, great comeback win. Kevin Adams is gone. It's been a fantastic 48 hours for everybody in Buffalo. All right. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us as always. I'll be back on Thursday, getting you ready for Bills and Browns. Rach, real quick. Myles Garrett gets the sack winner.
I'm feeling it.
It's going to happen?
I think it's going to happen.
I think it is,
He needs
too.
1.5. I mean,
I think it's just one he needs, right?
one's to tie it, 1.5 to break.
Okay.
Yep.
Good chance. We'll talk about that on Thursday. For Rachel Labra, I'm Thad Brown. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again in a couple.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 on demand. Plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.